The silent sky, the Galaxy Council chamber was silent. No one dared to speak. Dozens of alien leaders sat in their tall chairs, their eyes fixed on the giant screen at the center of the hall. The screen showed Earth, blue, green, and fragile, turning slowly under the light of the sun. On the edge of the screen, red dots appeared. They were enemy warships, crossing into the Sol system. The council members leaned closer. Some hissed in fear. Others whispered, "It has begun." For months, rumors had spread that Earth would be attacked. Humanity had made too many enemies. They were too bold, too stubborn, and too loud for the galaxy's taste. Most species obeyed the council without question. But humans, they refused. They built weapons without permission. They sent explorers into forbidden space. They were too dangerous, too wild. And now, an enemy armada had come to erase them. The council expected panic. They expected begging. But Earth did not send a single call for help. No diplomats, no ambassadors, nothing. Humanity stood alone. The alien leaders could not understand it. Why were the humans silent? Why did they not plead for mercy? One counselor whispered, "Perhaps they are already afraid." Another answered, "Or perhaps they are already dead." The screen zoomed in on the incoming fleet. Hundreds of ships, dark and heavy, moved like a swarm of knives toward Earth's orbit. They fired warning shots, glowing arcs of plasma that flashed across the void. Satellites shattered. Small orbital stations burned. Still, Earth gave no reply. Inside hidden bunkers on the planet's surface, humans watched quietly. Soldiers stood ready. Families hid deep underground. Children clutched their parents' hands as distant thunder echoed from the skies. Above, the silence grew heavy. The council chamber shook with voices. "This is madness. Earth cannot survive this. Their defenses are too few. Their fleets are too small." But then, the screen flickered. A single shape appeared in orbit. One human warship. Its hull was black with sharp lines that caught the sun. The council gasped. "One ship?" an alien shouted. "They send one ship against 100? The human vessel did not move. Its engines burned softly, but its weapons were cold. It waited. Council members argued in panic. Some laughed cruelly. "Earth has nothing left. This is their last warship. They will fall in minutes." But others did not laugh. They stared harder, noticing strange details. The ship's armor was thicker than expected. The cannons on its sides were unlike any seen before. And on its hull, a single word was written in bold human letters: "Defiance." Inside the ship, the crew sat at their stations, calm, silent. Their captain stood at the front, his hands behind his back, his eyes fixed on the enemy fleet. His voice was steady as he spoke. "Hold fire. Wait." The crew obeyed. The ship remained still, a lone shadow in the endless dark. The alien armada approached closer, their weapons glowing brighter. They were ready to strike. Back in the council, chamber fear spread like fire. Why are the humans not firing? Why do they wait? No one had the answer. The silent sky grew tense like a breath held too long. Every leader in the council chamber leaned forward, waiting for the first shot, waiting for the sound that would decide the fate of Earth. And then, the screen went. Black gasps filled the chamber. The signal had been cut. No one could see what was happening. Only static remained. The council members shouted at the technicians, "Restore the feed. We must see." When the screen returned, the human ship was still there, still silent, still waiting. The enemy fleet was closer now, so close that their cannons lit the darkness like a second sun. The council members froze. Their voices fell to whispers. They could feel it. Something was wrong. Something about the way the humans waited. One alien leader whispered the thought none wanted to say aloud. "They are not afraid." The sky around Earth was silent. Silent, but heavy with unseen power. The council could only watch, their hearts shaking, as the first strike began. The first strike, the Enemy armada moved into position above Earth. Hundreds of ships spread across the void like a steel curtain. Their weapons glowed, forming a wall of fire that seemed impossible to break. In the Galaxy Council chamber, the alien leaders held their breath. The screen showed every detail. The enemy commander, a tall reptilian creature with scarred skin, gave the order. His voice thundered through the comms. Fire! The first wave of plasma bolts ripped through space. Glowing arcs of green and red light shot toward Earth's orbit. The blast was so bright it blinded the cameras for a moment. When the vision cleared, small defense satellites were gone, torn apart like paper. On Earth's surface, the sky lit up. Trails of fire streaked across the clouds. People hiding underground felt the tremors. Children screamed as dust rained from the ceilings of bunkers. Still, the lone human warship Defiance did not move. The council erupted in noise. Why do they wait? Why do they not defend themselves? One alien cried. They are finished. But others leaned closer to the screen. The human ship's engines flared slightly. Not much, just a whisper of light. The vessel turned slowly, like a predator measuring its prey. The enemy laughed across the comms. Pathetic humans. Your single ship will burn. Another volley fired. More satellites exploded. A station crumbled in flames, drifting into Earth's atmosphere where it burned into ash. Yet Defiance held position. Inside the ship, the crew sat in silence. Their captain's voice came calm and clear. Not yet. They waited as the enemy drew closer, confident, careless. Then, in one sudden moment, the silence ended. The human ship came alive. Its cannons unfolded like wings. Its railguns glowed with blue fire. Its plasma arcs hummed, vibrating with deadly energy. And then, the first strike. Defiance fired a single railgun shot. It was faster than light, hotter than a star. The bolt tore across the void and slammed into the lead enemy cruiser. The alien vessel shattered instantly, breaking into fire and fragments. The council chamber erupted in gasps. Another shot followed, then another. Every pull of the trigger ripped through enemy lines. Ships that had been laughing moments before now screamed across the comms. The council leaned forward, stunned. The enemy tried to return fire. Hundreds of plasma bolts shot toward Defiance, but the human ship moved with impossible speed. Its engines flared bright, dodging, weaving, gliding through the storm. The council could not believe it. One ship against many, and it was winning. The captain's voice inside the ship was cold and steady. Target the flagships. Break their chain of command. The crew obeyed. Missiles launched. They curved in arcs of fire, each finding its target. Explosions rippled across the fleet. One flagship was split in half. Another spun out of control, colliding with its own escorts. The sky above Earth turned into chaos. The council chamber grew quiet. Aliens who had mocked Earth earlier now sat in silence, their faces pale. They destroyed them. One whispered, "No, this cannot be. Humans should not have this power." Another muttered. But the truth was undeniable. The enemy fleet staggered. Hundreds of ships still remained, but their confidence was broken. They began to spread out, retreating, into new formations. They were afraid. On Earth's surface, people hiding underground heard the distant thunder fade. Messages came through hidden radios. "We are still alive. Our ship fights for us." The world began to hope. But in the council chamber, the fear only grew stronger. If one human ship could cause such destruction, what else did Earth hide? What else waited in the silent docks of their planet? The enemy commander roared in rage, his voice shaking the comms. "All ships surround them. Crush the humans. Do not let them breathe." His fleet moved in, encircling Defiance. Dozens of cruisers lit their weapons, aiming at the lone ship. Inside Defiance, alarms blared. The crew tightened their grips on controls. The captain gave no sign of fear. He only whispered, "Now they see us. Now they fear us. Hold steady." The void burned with fire. The first great battle for Earth had begun. Shadows in orbit, the council chamber was silent again. But this silence was different. It was not calm. It was fear. Every alien leader sat frozen, their eyes locked on the giant screen. One human ship, Defiance, had shattered the first wave of the enemy fleet. Dozens of warships burned, their wreckage drifting across the void. Yet more enemy ships remained, hundreds still alive, their weapons glowing, their commanders furious. The council whispered among themselves, "This cannot be real. How does Earth have such power? One ship cannot stand against an armada." But the truth played out before their eyes. The enemy armada spread wide, surrounding Defiance. Cruisers and destroyers moved like wolves circling their prey. Their shadows stretched across Earth's orbit, blocking the light of the sun. In bunkers below, humans watched the skies grow darker. Radio voices reported what little they could. "The enemy surrounds our ship. They are closing in." Children asked their parents in small voices, "Will the ship lose?" No parent could answer. In the council chamber, one alien leader leaned forward and hissed, "This is the end, the humans will be crushed." But another leader shook her head. "No. Look closer." And she was right. Defiance did not move in panic. It drifted slowly, carefully. Its engines glowed in steady pulses. It did not run. It did not rush. It waited. Inside the ship, the crew's hands shook, but their captain's voice remained steady. "Hold formation. Do not waste fire. They believe they have the advantage. Let them believe." The crew obeyed. The enemy closed tighter. Dozens of ships aimed their cannons, ready to release fire. Their commander's voice came over the comms, filled with rage. "Humans, you are trapped. You cannot escape. Submit now or burn with your planet." The captain of Defiance did not reply. He only whispered to his crew, "Patience." The council leaned closer to the screen. Some leaders shouted in anger. "Why do they not answer? Why do they not fight? They are finished. It is over." But deep inside, a different fear began to grow. The human ship was too calm. Shadows stretched longer across Earth's orbit. The enemy fleet surrounded Defiance fully, a cage of steel and fire. The humans were outnumbered 100-1. Yet still, they waited. The captain's eyes narrowed. He saw the gaps in the enemy's formation. He knew their rage made them careless. He raised his hand. "Mark the weak points." On screens inside Defiance, red circles appeared around enemy ships. Not the strongest ones, not the largest, but the ones that held the formation together. The crew nodded. The captain's voice was quiet, but every word carried iron. "When the time comes, we break the cage." Back in the council chamber, tension grew unbearable. Some aliens wanted to look away, but they could not. The silence was heavy, suffocating. The humans were waiting for something. But what? Then it began. The enemy fired. Plasma bolts lit the void, a storm of green and red fire raining down on Defiance. The sky shook with light. But the human ship moved. Not wildly, not desperate. Every move was sharp and exact. It slid between fire, dodging, twisting, turning through the shadows. Explosions lit its hull, but none broke its armor. Then, at last, the captain gave the order. "Now, strike." Defiance roared to life. Its railguns screamed, firing blue lances of light. Each shot tore through a marked target. Cruisers exploded. Destroyers spun into flame. Holes opened in the enemy's cage. Missiles followed, weaving through space like hunting beasts. They slammed into the weaker ships, breaking the enemy's formation apart. The cage was shattered. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Leaders shouted over one another. Some cried out in disbelief. Others demanded explanations. How can this be? They fight like predators. This is not possible. But the truth was clear. The humans had not been trapped. They had been waiting for the enemy to come close, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And when they struck with precision and fury. In the shadows of orbit, alien ships burned. Their screams echoed across comms. The enemy commander roared in frustration, his voice shaking with rage. "Kill them. Kill that cursed ship." But fear had already spread through his fleet. One by one, ships pulled back, One by one, formations broke apart. The humans had turned the hunters into the hunted. The council watched in terror. They had thought Earth weak. They had thought one ship could never stand against many. But now, they saw the truth. The humans were not just defending. They were teaching the galaxy to fear them. And this was only the beginning. Fire unleashed. The sky above Earth burned. Wreckage drifted like broken stars, glowing red against the black of space. The once perfect circle of the enemy fleet was shattered, their formation broken by one human warship, Defiance. But the battle was far from over. Hundreds of enemy ships still remained. Cruisers and destroyers regrouped, their engines flaring, hot with anger. The enemy commander's voice thundered across comms, filled with rage and shame. Enough games. Crush them. Show the humans no mercy. The Galaxy Council watched in frozen terror. Their screens flickered with the chaos of battle. Some alien leaders covered their faces, unable to watch what was unfolding. Others leaned forward, whispering to themselves, How does one ship still fight? This is not war. This is madness. But the humans were not mad. They were calm, calculated, deadly. Inside Defiance, alarms flashed across consoles. Shields trembled under the constant storm of plasma fire. Sparks rained in the bridge. Yet the crew did not break. Their captain's voice cut through the noise like steel. Hold steady. Line up targets. Fire on my mark. The crew obeyed. Hands moved across controls. Voices clear. Eyes focused. Fear had no place here. The captain lowered his hand. Mark. And then, Defiance unleashed its full power. Railguns screamed, firing shot after shot. Blue streaks of light ripped across the void, tearing through enemy cruisers. Entire ships split apart, their cores exploding in fire. Plasma arcs followed, lancing out in sweeping strikes. They cut across multiple ships at once, melting armor, turning steel to molten rivers. Missiles roared from hidden bays, weaving in deadly spirals before slamming into targets. Each explosion bloomed like a new star, shaking the void. The Galaxy Council gasped in horror. They had never seen such weapons. They had never seen such precision. One alien leader whispered, "This is not defense. This is slaughter." In minutes, dozens more enemy ships were gone. Their commander's voice grew desperate. "Surround them. Focus fire. They cannot hold forever." But even as his ships obeyed, fear had already taken root. Crews hesitated. Formations faltered. No one wanted to be the next target. On Earth's surface, people in bunkers listened to the reports. The voices coming through radios spoke with awe. One ship. They are fighting back. One ship is holding the line. Families cried tears of hope. Soldiers clenched their fists. For the first time since the battle began, humanity felt something stronger than fear. They felt pride. Above, the battle raged hotter. Defiance weaved between blasts, its hull glowing with the heat of near misses. Alarms blared. Hull plates cracked. But still, it fought on. The captain stood tall at the front of the bridge. His voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "We do not fall. Not today. Fire again." And they did. Another wave of enemy ships vanished in fire. The once mighty armada was bleeding, crumbling piece by piece. The council chamber shook with voices. "They cannot win this. It is impossible." "But they are winning. Look, look." What is humanity? But as the aliens argued, the truth was clear. The humans were turning the tide. The enemy commander slammed his claws against his console, his voice raw with fury. "Do not retreat. Do not show weakness. Ram them if you must. Destroy the human ship." His remaining cruisers obeyed, charging forward in desperation. Plasma storms lit the void. Missiles flew in swarms. The sky itself seemed to catch fire. Inside Defiance, the crew braced. Explosions rocked the ship. Consoles sparked. Smoke filled the air. A hull breach sealed itself with emergency plates. Still, no one faltered. The captain's voice cut through the chaos. "Target their core ships. Break them for..." Good. With one final command, Defiance poured every weapon it had into the heart of the enemy formation. Railguns fired in perfect rhythm. Missiles streaked like falling stars. Plasma arcs burned across the void. One by one, the enemy's core ships exploded. Their command chain collapsed. The fleet broke apart, and for the first time, the enemy began to retreat. The Galaxy Council sat frozen, their faces pale. "They are running," one whispered. "No, they are fleeing," another corrected. And yet, even as the enemy ships pulled back, the Council felt no relief. Because now they understood. Earth had stood alone, and Earth had fought like no other world could, if this was only one ship. What else did humanity hide? The silence that followed was not peace, it was fear. Earth's stand. The void above Earth was filled with smoke and wreckage. Burning ships drifted silently, their twisted frames reflecting the pale light of the sun. For a brief moment, there was quiet. The battlefield seemed frozen. But the war was not over. Beyond the ruins, more enemy reinforcements appeared. The darkness rippled as new fleets emerged from hyperspace, hundreds more ships. Their arrival shook the Galaxy Council chamber. Alien leaders cried out in disbelief. They sent another wave. "No world can survive this." The enemy commander's voice came across the comms, low and furious. "Humans, you delay the inevitable. We will burn your world to ash. No ship, no weapon, no defiance will save you." In Earth's bunkers, the radio crackled with fear. Families listened as reports came in. More enemy fleets, and they outnumber us beyond count. Mothers held their children close. Soldiers clenched their rifles. For a moment, hope faltered. Inside Defiance, the crew stared at the screens as wave after wave of ships appeared. Their faces were pale, but their captain stood tall. His voice remained steady. "We stand, alone if we must, but we do not fall." The words steadied them. Fear turned into fire. The council chamber was filled with noise again. Alien leaders argued, shouted, demanded answers. Why do the humans not beg for help? Why do they not surrender? They cannot win this battle alone. But still, Earth remained silent. Then something happened. From the planet's shadow, shapes began to rise. Hidden in Earth's dockyards, cloaked and buried under orbital stations, more human ships came alive. One by one, they rose into orbit. Smaller than Defiance, but armed, ready and fierce. The Council gasped. They had more ships. They hid them until now. A fleet of human warships formed above Earth. Not hundreds, not thousands, just a handful compared to the enemy. But each ship burned with defiance, each weapon sharp and ready. In the council chamber, fear grew deeper. If humanity had hidden this much strength, how much more could they be hiding still? The enemy commander roared with laughter when he saw the small fleet. This is your answer? A few more ships? You waste your time, humans. We will crush you, all the same. But the humans did not shake. On the comms, the captain of Defiance finally spoke. His voice was calm, but his words carried iron. You think we fight for victory? You are wrong. We fight because this is our home, and no one takes it from us. Then the human fleet moved. Together, they formed a wall around Earth. The smaller ships flanked Defiance, weaving in tight patterns, covering each other's weaknesses. They did not wait for the enemy. They struck first. Railguns lit the void. Again, missiles screamed in burning arcs. Plasma fire cut through space like blades of light. The enemy's new wave staggered under the sudden assault. The council chamber filled with shouts. They attack with so few? This is not war. This is survival. No, this is something more. The humans fought with everything they had. Every shot was precise. Every move was sharp. They did not fight like a weak, desperate species. They fought like predators, defending their den. The battle raged. Enemy fleets fired storms of plasma, tearing holes through the void. Human ships were hit, some burning, some breaking apart. The cost was high, but they did not retreat. On Earth's surface, people in bunkers, could feel the ground shake with distant echoes. Yet the reports kept coming. Our ships are still fighting. Earth still stands. Hope returned. Inside the council chamber, silence returned once more. Not because the battle was over, but because the truth was now undeniable. The humans would not surrender. The humans would not break. Even against overwhelming odds they fought. One alien leader whispered the thought that spread fear through them all. If Earth can do this alone, what will they do when they are not alone? The screen showed the battlefield again. Human. Ships were fewer, smaller, weaker in number, but they held the line. It was Earth's stand, and the galaxy would never forget it. Alone, but not weak. The void was fire and silence. Human ships burned alongside alien wrecks. Every blast shook the skies above Earth, and every explosion carried a story of defiance. The enemy's numbers were overwhelming. Even after losing so many ships, their reinforcements kept coming. Cruisers lined up across the horizon. Destroyers blocked the light of the stars. It was a wall of steel that stretched as far as the eye could see. In the Galaxy Council chamber, alien leaders stared in disbelief. They had watched many wars before, but never like this. Humanity stood alone, outnumbered 100-1, yet they did not run. They should surrender, one counselor whispered. They will die, another said, but no one in the chamber truly believed that anymore. Inside Defiance, the bridge shook with every hit. Consoles sparked, smoke filled the air, and alarms screamed in red. Crew members wiped blood from their faces, their uniforms torn and burned. Yet their hands never left the controls. The captain stood firm at the front, his voice steady as iron. We hold. We fight. Every second we live is another second Earth breathes. The crew nodded. Their fear had turned into something stronger. Resolve. Outside, the smaller human ships wove in deadly arcs. They fought like wolves, darting in and out of enemy, fire biting at weak points, retreating, then striking again. Alone, each ship was fragile. Together, they were deadly. A single destroyer broke through the human line. It charged directly at Earth, its cannons glowing bright. But before it could fire, a small human frigate slammed into it head-on. Both ships exploded in a blinding flash. The council gasped. They sacrificed themselves, one alien whispered. No, another corrected. They chose to protect their world. Down on Earth's surface, the ground shook from the thunder above. In bunkers and shelters, humans listened as voices came through broken radios. Frigate Horizon lost. They rammed an enemy destroyer. Earth is safe for now. Families wept, but not in despair. They wept with pride. Their people were fighting. Their world was not falling. The enemy commander roared across comms, furious. Fools! Do you think you can hold forever? Your courage means nothing. You are weak, humans. Weak. But the word weak no longer carried power. The captain of Defiance answered at last, his voice calm, steady, unshaken. We are not weak. We are human, and we will never bow. Then, with a gesture, he gave the order. Defiance spun into the center of the battlefield, its weapons glowing like a burning star. Railguns thundered, plasma arcs screamed, missiles carved through the void, in brilliant trails of fire. The enemy line broke apart under the storm. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some leaders cried out in fear, others in rage. But one by one, their voices grew silent. They could see the truth too clearly. Humanity was alone, but they were not weak. Every ship they lost, they answered with fury. Every blow they took, they returned with fire. Even as more wrecks floated among the stars, the humans fought harder. The battle dragged on. Hours felt like days. The enemy fleet pressed forward, but their confidence crumbled. For every ship they destroyed, 2 more of theirs burned. Inside Defiance, the captain's voice grew hoarse, but his will did not break. They will not outlast us. Not today. Not here. One counselor in the chamber whispered the words that chilled every alien to their bones. This is not a victory for humanity. This is a warning to the galaxy. Above Earth, the battle still raged. Human ships burned, but their defiance burned brighter. They stood alone, but they were not weak, and every watching world now understood the terrible truth. The terror of humanity. The battle above Earth raged into its final hour. Smoke and fire covered the void. Wreckage spun like broken stars, drifting silently across the black. The enemy still outnumbered the humans, but their power was fading. Fear spread through their ranks. Their formations broke. Their voices on the comms were no longer filled with pride, but with panic. Pull back. They're cutting us apart. This ship is breaking. No, no. The Galaxy Council chamber was silent. Not one alien leader dared to speak. They could only watch as the impossible happened before their eyes. Earth had stood alone, and Earth was winning. Inside Defiance, the bridge shook with every strike. The hull burned, alarms screamed, and consoles sparked. But the crew held on. Their eyes were tired, their bodies broken, but their spirit was unshaken. The captain stood, tall, smoke swirling around him. His voice was calm, heavy with iron. Target their commander. End this. The crew obeyed. The ship's weapons aligned, every cannon focusing on the massive enemy flagship at the heart of the fleet. The enemy commander's voice cracked across comms, filled with rage and desperation. You think one world can stand against us? You think you can scare the galaxy? You are nothing but vermin. The captain did not reply. He only raised his hand. Fire. The sky lit up, railguns screamed, missiles roared, plasma arcs carved through the void like blades of fire. All of it struck the enemy flagship at once. The council gasped as the great ship shuddered. Its armor split, its engines tore apart, and in one blinding explosion, it was gone. The enemy fleet froze. Their commander was dead. Their pride was broken. And in that moment, fear swallowed them whole. Ships turned, engines flared. The once proud armada scattered into the void, fleeing from a single planet and its defenders. The council chamber was filled with whispers. They are running. No, they are fleeing. Humans did this. But even as the enemy retreated, the fear inside the chamber grew heavier, because they now understood something far more terrifying than the battle itself. This was only one ship, one fleet, one world standing alone. If humanity had this strength now, what would they become tomorrow? On Earth's surface, people emerged from their shelters. They stepped into the night sky, staring upward at the glowing wreckage that rained like dying stars. Radios carried the message across every city, every bunker, every hidden valley. The attack is over, the enemy is gone, Earth still stands. Cheers rose, tears fell, families embraced, soldiers stood proud. Humanity had survived, but survival was not the only victory. Something greater had been born that day. A legend. Back in the council chamber, silence returned once more. Every alien leader sat pale and shaken. They had come expecting to watch Earth's fall. Instead, they had witnessed something else, not weakness, not fear, terror. Because now the galaxy knew the truth. Humans were not like other species. They did not bow. They did not beg. Even when surrounded, even when broken, they fought until the last breath. One counselor finally whispered the words that no one wanted to hear. If this is humanity standing alone, then what will happen when they stand together? No one answered. No one could. Above Earth, the lone ship Defiance drifted through the wreckage. Its hull was scarred, its armor cracked, but its flag still flew. The captain looked at the stars, his voice quiet but strong. Let them remember. We stood alone, and we endured. The galaxy would never forget. They had watched in fear. Now they would live in terror of humanity.